"Stop embarrassing me, Dad," my son said. His voice was low, but sharp enough to cut through the airport noise. "No one cares about your charity bags." Before I could answer, he took my phone from my hand. "I'll check where they're meeting you," he said. Then he got back in the car. 2 minutes, he promised. The taillights disappeared into the traffic outside San Francisco International Airport. I stood there with 10 red suitcases, no phone, no ride, and people staring like I was blocking their holiday. Welcome to Final Act Revenge. Tell me where you are watching from and what time it is there. If you are watching late tonight, please drink some water and take care of yourself. My son thought he had left me alone at the airport. But inside those red suitcases was the one thing he had never learned how to abandon: a promise. My name is Adou Minh. I was 74 years old when my son left me outside San Francisco International Airport before Christmas. That is the kind of sentence a man does not expect to say about his own child. Not after a lifetime of changing diapers, paying school fees, fixing bicycles, sitting through fever nights, and pretending not to be tired so your children can believe the house is safe. But old age teaches you something hard. Sometimes the people who know your history best are the first ones to call it a burden. I was born in Vietnam, but I became an American one ordinary day at a time. A little English, a little work, a little shame when I could not say the right word fast enough. A little pride when I finally could. My mother came to this country with one red suitcase. It was not beautiful. The corners were scuffed. The zipper caught if you pulled too fast. One wheel leaned like it had survived an argument and refused to apologize. But to her, that suitcase was a house, a memory, and a prayer. Inside, she carried 2 dresses, family photographs, a small packet of tea, a folded address written by someone who was already gone, and one envelope of papers she checked so often the edges turned soft. She packed that suitcase like she was solving a math problem and negotiating with God. When I was young, I did not understand. I thought luggage was just luggage. Then I got older and learned that when you come to a new country with one suitcase, a small bag can carry more than clothes. It can carry fear. It can carry hope. It can carry the version of yourself you are trying not to lose. Years later, after I had become a husband, a father, and then a widower, that red suitcase became something else, a promise. My wife, Lena, was the one who started it. She was not loud about kindness. She did not post pictures. She did not want her name on plaques. She worked at a community clinic for years and saw children come in wearing jackets too thin for December, shoes too small, eyes too old. One night she came home holding a paper bag with 3 pairs of gloves, 2 coloring books, and a little stuffed bear. I asked, "Who is that for?" She said, "A child who thinks Christmas forgot them." That was Lena. Plain words. Deep water. The first year, we made 20 gift bags in our garage. Warm socks, gloves, crayons, a coloring book, a small toy, a card that said, "Merry Christmas /Chuk Bin An." Lena wrote every card by hand. Her handwriting was neater than mine. Mine looked like a shopping cart hit it. She would laugh and say, "Adou, just sign your name. Let me handle the readable part." By the 3rd year, there were 70 bags, then 100. Then schools called, clinics called. Foster family workers called quietly, never giving names they were not allowed to give, only ages, sizes, and notes like likes dinosaurs or needs warm socks. After Lena died, I thought I could not do it anymore. The garage felt too quiet. The red suitcase sat in the corner like it was waiting for someone who was not coming back. Then I found her letter. She had folded it inside the lining pocket, beside a list of children from the previous year. No child should think Christmas forgot them. That was all. One sentence, enough to keep an old man moving. So I kept going. I called it the Red Suitcase Project, not because it was fancy, because my mother's suitcase had brought me into a new life, and Lena had taught me to send a little hope back out into the world. By the end of 2025, the project had become bigger than anything I planned. Volunteers helped. Church ladies, retired teachers, a few airport workers. Vietnamese grocery owners who slipped gift cards into envelopes and told me not to say their names. We were preparing gifts for 1,000 children that Christmas. 1,000, not numbers on a flyer. Children. Children in shelters, foster homes, community clinics, and emergency housing, who might never know my face, but would know somebody remembered them. Peter saw the red suitcases and thought I was dragging the past behind me. He did not know his mother had helped me pack the future inside them. My son's name is Peter Minh. He was 46 years old then, old enough to know better and young enough to believe numbers could explain every wound. Peter was not a failure. That would make this story easier to tell. He had a good job in real estate finance. He wore pressed shirts. He knew loan terms, equity lines, trust language, and the careful little phrases people use when they want money to sound like responsibility. He lived in a house that looked calm from the street. Inside, I later learned, everything was stretched thin. Mortgage, tuition, credit lines, a car payment he should not have taken, a life built so close to the edge that one bad month could push it over. But Peter never said, "Dad, I'm scared." He said, "Dad, you're being irresponsible." That is a very different sentence. The first time he said it, he was standing in my garage, staring at the boxes of gloves and socks stacked beside the red suitcases. "You spent all this?" he asked. "Most of it was donated." "Most?" I tied a ribbon around a gift bag and said, "Some came from your mother's fund." His face changed. "Mom's money?" I looked up. "Your mother's promise." He laughed once. Not because it was funny, because he wanted the words to feel smaller. "Dad, she's gone. You don't have to keep turning her into a charity brochure." That one hurt. I kept my hands on the ribbon so he would not see them shake. "Do not speak about your mother like that." "I'm speaking about reality." Reality. Peter used that word the way some men use a hammer. He walked deeper into the garage, looking at the gift bags like they were evidence of a crime. Little books, winter hats, crayons, stuffed animals, gift cards clipped to envelopes, cards with Merry Christmas/Chuk Bin An written across the front. He picked one up. "Half these kids will never know your name. That is not why we give." "Exactly," he said. "That's the problem." I turned to him. "What problem?" "You spent your whole life saving other people's children. When was it finally going to be my turn?" The room became very quiet. There it was. Not greed only, not cruelty only. A child's old anger wearing a grown man's coat. I could have answered badly. Maybe I wanted to. I wanted to say he had never missed a meal, never slept cold, never wondered if a stranger would remember him at Christmas. I wanted to tell him that love is not smaller because it feeds someone outside your blood. But fathers learn to hear pain even when it arrives as an insult. So I said, "Peter, you were always my son." He looked away. "Then act like it." After that, the arguments changed. They were not only about gifts, they were about my house in Daly City, a small place Lena and I bought when the neighborhood still felt possible for working people. By late 2025, that house was worth more than I ever expected anything of mine to be worth. Peter called it dead equity. I called it home. "Dad, you're sitting on $1 million house and dragging charity bags through airports." A house is not dead just because someone else wants it to become money. His eyes hardened. "You make everything poetic, so you don't have to make decisions." "No," I said. "I make decisions. You just do not like the ones that protect other people." Then came Mason Pruitt. Mason was Peter's financial advisor, though he looked more like a man who advised people how to sleep after doing something wrong. Soft voice, expensive glasses, always careful with verbs. He never accused me directly. He asked questions. Was I tracking donations properly? Was I keeping receipts? Was anyone taking advantage of me? Was the storage unit under my name alone? Had I considered letting Peter assist with project oversight? Assist. another clean word with dirty fingerprints. Peter began taking photos of the garage, the storage boxes, the receipts, the red suitcases. He said it was for organization. But one afternoon, I saw a note on his tablet before he turned it away. Possible financial recklessness, charity over family duty, capacity concern if handoff fails. I pretended not to see it. That was my mistake. Old men sometimes confuse silence with patience. They are not the same. By the time Peter offered to drive me to SFO, he had already decided those red suitcases were not gifts. They were evidence. Peter did not begin by asking for control. He began by asking for clarity. That was how he phrased it. Dad, I just want to understand where the money is going. We were sitting at my kitchen table in Daly City, the same table where Lena and I had folded gift cards for years, the same table where my mother once peeled oranges slowly because she believed good fruit deserved respect. Outside, fog pressed against the windows. Inside, Peter had his laptop open. I had tea, he had numbers. That difference mattered. He pointed to a column on his screen. Storage unit fees, gift cards, shipping labels, bulk socks, clinic drop-offs. Do you see how this looks? It looks like winter, I said. He closed his eyes. Dad? What? I'm serious. So am I. He turned the laptop toward me like a judge showing evidence. The Red Suitcase Project had never been rich. It was small donations, careful receipts, retired teachers mailing checks for $25, Vietnamese grocery owners handing me envelopes and saying, "Please don't put my name anywhere." Sometimes I added my own money. Sometimes Lena's little insurance fund filled the gap. Peter saw only withdrawals. I saw hands. That is the difference between a ledger and a memory. He tapped the table. That house is worth more than you think. I know what my house is worth. No, you don't. Not really. The market changed. You're sitting on equity while paying for strangers. I looked at him. Those children are not strangers to God. He gave a tired laugh. There it is. What? You make it impossible to talk about practical things. Practical does not mean selfish. Family comes first. I leaned back. Family also teaches you what first means. His face hardened. He had been waiting for that. Then teach me why Mom's money goes to kids who don't know her name. I set my cup down, carefully. Do not call your mother's promise your inheritance. For a moment he looked like I had slapped him. Maybe I had, with words. But some lines have to be drawn before love becomes permission. Peter said nothing for a while. Then he slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed pages about financial management, trust oversight, donor accountability, and something called Temporary Assistance Authority. I read slowly. My English has been good for a long time, but legal words still like to wear masks. Who gave you this? Mason. Of course, Mason Pruitt. Soft voice, expensive glasses, careful shoes. A man who never said take when he could say assist. Peter said, he thinks we should organize things before they become a problem. Before what becomes a problem? You? The word came out too fast. He tried to fix it. I mean, your workload, your age, these obligations. I felt something inside me go quiet. Not weak, quiet. There is a kind of pain that does not shout because it is busy understanding. A few days later, I called Cyrus Finch, the attorney Lena and I had trusted after she got sick. Cyrus was not dramatic. He had the tired patience of a man who had seen family love turn into paperwork too many times. He listened. Then he said, Adou, has Peter asked about storage access? Yes. Donor records? Yes. Your house? I looked toward the hallway where Lena's photo sat beside a small bowl of wrapped peppermints. Yes, Cyrus sighed. Then we need to review the protections. We met in his office the next morning. He showed me what Lena and I had signed years earlier. The Red Suitcase Project had a restricted donor account. The storage unit was tied to the project trust. The gift money was not general family cash. Wendy Lowe was backup coordinator. If I became unable to serve, Peter did not automatically take over. Lena had insisted on that. I remembered her saying, "Good intentions need locks, too." At the time, I thought she was being cautious. Now, I understood she had been wise. Cyrus warned me that Peter had called his office once already, asking careful questions about financial recklessness and temporary management. "He did not accuse you directly," Cyrus said, "but he was building a shape." "What shape?" "The shape of a man who wants a judge, a bank, or a family meeting to believe you cannot manage your own promise." That night, I stood in the garage among the red suitcases and felt older than 74. Not because of my knees, because my son had looked at his mother's mercy and seen an account to control. That was the first time I understood Peter did not only want me to stop giving. He wanted the legal right to decide what my promises were worth. By the second week of December, my garage looked like Christmas had lost a fight with a shipping warehouse. Red suitcases leaned against the wall. Plastic bins sat under folding tables. Gift bags covered the floor in neat little rows, each one tagged by age, size, and location. 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12. Teen girls, teen boys. Clinic extras. Emergency housing. No names on the outside. Never names. Children in shelters and foster care already lose enough privacy without adults turning their lives into labels. Wendy Lowe was the one who kept us disciplined about that. She was 64, a retired elementary school librarian with silver hair, sharp glasses, and the ability to make grown volunteers feel guilty for leaving scissors in the wrong bin. "Adou," she would say, "hope is good. Inventory is better." I told her, "You sound like Lena with a clipboard." She answered, "Then I am doing something right." Wendy had been with the Red Suitcase Project for 8 years. She knew every donor receipt, every route code, every shelter contact, every rule about confidentiality. She kept a backup binder at her house because she trusted kindness, but not chaos. That was Wendy. Soft heart, locked cabinet. Rita Snow handled the shelter side in San Francisco. She had a tired face and a voice that could turn steel gentle. April Dunn, a younger social worker, helped coordinate foster family deliveries across Oakland and San Jose. They never gave me full names of children, only what was needed: age, coat size, favorite color if known, allergy notes, a child who likes dinosaurs, a girl who asked for purple gloves, a boy who wanted a book with animals that don't die. That one stayed with me. Some requests are small enough to fit on paper and large enough to break your heart. Bennett Shaw came twice a week to help pack. He was 70, a Vietnam-era veteran volunteer with a bad shoulder and a habit of pretending he did not care about anything. He cared about everything. He picked up one packing list and whistled. 1,000 kids, he said. If Santa had a warehouse manager, he would quit by noon. Wendy looked over her glasses. Then Santa should improve his labeling system. Bennett pointed at me. You hear that, Adou? Even magic needs management. We laughed. I needed those laughs. Without them, the weight of it all could get too heavy. Because 1,000 children sounds beautiful when you say it quickly. It sounds harder when you see 1,000 pairs of socks, 1,000 cards, 1,000 bags that must go to the right place at the right time without exposing one child's story to the wrong person. The red suitcases did not carry all the gifts. That would have been impossible. Most of the boxes were already staged in a storage unit and with volunteer drivers. The suitcases going to SFO carried the binders, route tags, priority gift batches, handwritten notes, and the special bags that had to be matched before the vans left. The main red suitcase held Lena's letter. I always carried that one myself. Inside the binder were donation records, delivery routes, trust papers, contact sheets, and a thin envelope of thank you notes from past years. Some had crayon hearts. Some had crooked stars. One said, "I didn't know old people knew what kids liked." I still smile at that one. A few days before the airport handoff, Wendy came to the garage and found me sitting on a stool, tying red ribbon around a bag for a 12-year-old girl who liked sketchbooks. She stood in the doorway. Peter came by the storage unit. My hands stopped. When? Yesterday. What did he want? He told the manager he would soon be managing the project. I stared at the ribbon. It had gone slack between my fingers. Wendy stepped closer. I did not give him access. I know. Do you? I looked up. Her face was kind, but not soft. That is an important difference. Adou, she said, your son has asked me 3 times for donor lists, twice for storage codes, once for route control. He says he wants to protect you. He worries. He wants keys. I wanted to defend Peter, even then, maybe especially then. A father's heart is not a court. It does not admit evidence neatly. It keeps looking for the boy inside the man, hoping one good memory can explain one bad pattern. He has pressure, I said. So do these children. That silenced me. Wendy's eyes moved to the red suitcase near my chair. Lena made you promise something. I know. Then keep the promise protected, not just alive. I nodded, but inside something was aching. Because there is a special loneliness in realizing your own child may be the person from whom a promise needs protection. That evening, Peter called. His voice was warmer than usual. Too warm. Dad, I'll drive you to SFO, he said. No point making volunteers pick you up. I looked at the red suitcases, then at Lena's letter on the table. You have time? For this? Sure. I almost said no. I should have. But part of me wanted to believe that maybe he had thought about what he said in the garage. Maybe he wanted to help. Maybe Christmas could still pull one thread of our family back into place. Old men are not foolish for hoping, but hope can make us slow to lock the door. I told him yes. After I hung up, Wendy texted me one sentence. Keep the binder with you. I typed back, always. Then I looked at the red suitcase and tried to ignore the feeling that Peter was not angry because he misunderstood the project. Wendy knew better. She had already seen him trying to put his name on the doors. Peter arrived early that morning. That should have made me happy. For years, I had wished my son would show up before I had to ask twice. I had wished he would see the Red Suitcase Project not as competition, not as proof that I loved strangers more than blood, but as one of the few places where his mother still seemed close. So when his SUV pulled into my driveway before sunrise, I let myself believe it, just a little. He stepped out wearing a dark jacket and that careful face he used with clients. Morning, Dad, he said. Morning. He looked at the red suitcases by the garage door. There were 5 of them, not 10. The rest of the gifts were already staged with volunteers and vans. These carried the binder, route tags, priority gift batches, and the special handwritten cards Wendy wanted checked before the first handoff. Peter's mouth tightened. That's still a lot. It is a lot of children. He did not answer. We loaded the suitcases into the back. He helped, but not gently. One suitcase tipped sideways, and I reached for it faster than my knees liked. Careful, I said. It's luggage, Dad. No, it's organized. He shut the hatch harder than necessary. The drive to San Francisco International Airport was quiet for the first 20 minutes. Outside the windows, the Bay Area looked gray and half awake. Traffic thickened as we got closer. Brake lights stretched ahead like a red ribbon nobody had tied properly. Peter finally spoke. After today, we need to talk about the house. I looked at him. Today is not for the house. That's the problem. Nothing is ever for the house. Peter, no, Dad. You keep acting like this project is sacred, but everything else is negotiable. Your time, your money, your safety, your family. I folded my hands over the binder on my lap. Your mother wanted this. She wanted a lot of things before she got sick. His words landed in the car and stayed there. I watched the airport signs pass overhead. Terminal 1, Terminal 2, International. Peter followed the lane toward departures, jaw tight, fingers tapping the wheel. At the curb, everything became noise, cars honking, families pulling bags from trunks, airport officers waving vehicles along, children crying because coats were too hot inside cars and too cold outside them. Peter jumped out and opened the hatch. "Move fast," he said. "I need to wait for Wendy." "You said someone was meeting you inside." "Yes, passenger services." "Then go inside." "I need my phone to call." He cut me off. "Give me your phone. I'll check where they're meeting you." I hesitated, only for a second. But fathers make terrible witnesses against their own children. We keep explaining what our hearts already know. I handed him the phone. He glanced at the screen, then looked at the red suitcases lined beside the curb. A woman passing by slowed and stared. That was all it took. Peter's face flushed. "Stop embarrassing me, Dad," he said. His voice was low, but hard. "No one cares about your charity bags." I looked at him. "Do not call them that." "What? Charity bags? That's what they are." "They are gifts. They are junk with ribbons." The airport noise seemed to fall away. I could still see his mouth moving, but for a moment I saw him at 10 years old, holding Lena's hand in a grocery store, asking why she always bought extra canned soup for people he never met. Back then, she told him, because hunger is not less real when it is not ours. He had heard her. He just had not kept it. An officer called from behind us. "Sir, you need to keep moving." Peter lifted one hand. 2 minutes. Then he turned to me. "You're not Santa Claus. You're just an old man dragging bags through an airport." I felt that sentence in my chest, not because it was clever, because he meant it. Before I could answer, he stepped back toward the driver's door. "Stay here. I'll park and check the schedule." "My phone." "I have it." "Peter." He got in. The door shut. For a breath, I thought he would lower the window. He did not. The SUV pulled away from the curb, merged into the airport traffic, and disappeared behind a shuttle bus. 2 minutes, he had said. I stood there with the red suitcases and the binder against my coat. No phone, no sun, no Wendy. Just cold air, exhaust, rolling wheels, and strangers trying not to look too long. Before I tell you who recognized my name inside that airport, let me ask you something. If your own child left you alone before Christmas and called your charity bags embarrassing, would you still protect the promise you made? Or would that pain make you give up? Tell me in the comments, because sometimes the heaviest luggage is not the bag in your hand. It is the silence your family leaves you with. An airport worker approached me. "Sir, are all these bags yours?" "Yes." "Do you have airline tags?" "They are not for a flight." That was the wrong answer. Her expression changed politely. Not cruel. Procedure. Another staff member came over. Then a supervisor was called. People moved around me in waves, families rushing past with coats and boarding passes and coffee cups. I tried to explain. "There is a coordinator. Her name is Wendy Lowe. I need to call her." "Do you have your phone, sir?" I looked toward the road where Peter had vanished. "My son has it." The young worker softened, but the supervisor did not. He was not unkind. He was doing his job. "Sir, we can't leave multiple unattended bags at curbside. We need to move you and the luggage inside passenger assistance until we verify the handoff." "I understand." I did understand. That made it worse, because Peter had chosen a place where the rules would do half his work for him. As they helped move the suitcases, one of the red tags turned outward. The Red Suitcase Project. Winter Gifts. 1,000 children. A man nearby read it and frowned, as if kindness itself had become suspicious, because it was taking up space. Inside my coat, the binder felt heavy. Lena's letter was inside. The route list, the trust papers, the names I was allowed to carry, and the names I was sworn to protect. I did not know it yet, but Peter had already sent a message while I stood there without my phone. He's alone at SFO with the bags. If he fails the handoff, we document incapacity. I stood outside Terminal 2 with no phone, no sun, and red suitcases full of promises. while Peter was already turning my silence into evidence. They moved me inside like I was both a passenger and a problem. Not roughly. That would have been easier to resent. They were polite, careful, procedural, the way people are when they do not want to embarrass an old man but still need him out of the way. The supervisor introduced himself as Grant Silas. He was tall, tired-looking, and spoke with the calm voice of a man who had explained rules to angry travelers for half his life. "Sir, I need to understand why you have this many suitcases at curbside." "They are gifts." "For a flight?" "No." "For cargo?" "No." He looked at the red suitcases, then at me. I could see the question forming before he asked it. "Are you meeting someone here?" "Yes, a coordinator, Wendy Lowe." "Do you have a phone number for her?" "My son has my phone." Grant paused. "Not long enough." "Does your son know where you are?" I looked toward the glass doors, where traffic kept moving outside like nothing important had happened. I thought he did. That was the most honest answer I had. They brought the suitcases into a passenger assistance area near the side of the terminal. Not a private room, not quite public either. A place for wheelchairs, misplaced travelers, oversized items, worried families, and people like me. People whose situation did not fit neatly into a screen prompt. A young airport worker placed one suitcase upright. The tag swung forward. "The Red Suitcase Project, Winter Gifts, 1,000 children." Grant read it. His face did not soften yet. "Airport work teaches caution before sympathy." "Sir, do these bags contain wrapped items?" "Some." "Any liquids, food, batteries?" "No batteries. Some books, socks, gloves, cards, small toys." "Do you have documentation?" "Yes." I reached inside my coat for the binder. My fingers felt clumsy. I hated that. Age is bad enough when it slows your body. It is worse when someone is watching, waiting to decide whether your slowness means you no longer understand yourself. The binder slipped slightly in my hands. One of the workers reached to help. "I have it," I said, too sharply. She pulled back. "I'm sorry," I added. She nodded, but the damage was done. I sounded exactly like the kind of old man who was trying not to look confused. I opened the binder. Routes, receipts, donation records, shelter contacts, volunteer numbers, Wendy's name, Lena's letter, tucked in the back. Grant leaned over, careful not to touch anything without asking. "This is organized," he said. That small sentence almost broke me, because outside, my own son had called it junk. Before Grant could say more, a woman in an airline jacket walked past the assistant's desk, stopped, then took one step back. She was in her 30s, maybe, dark hair pulled into a low bun, a radio clipped to her belt, badge on her chest, Melody Hart. I did not know that name yet. She stared at the red tag on the suitcase, then at the binder, then at me. "Excuse me?" she said quietly. "Are you Mr. Min?" I looked up. Yes. Her face changed in a way I could not read. Not surprise exactly, recognition, but not of my face, of something older. She came closer and pointed to the tag. "The Red Suitcase Project?" "Yes." Her hand moved to her throat, as if something there had tightened. "When I was 9, she said, "I got a red scarf from a Christmas bag." Grant looked at her. "Melody?" She did not look away from me. It had a coloring book, gloves, a little stuffed dog, and a card. My mouth went dry. Many children had received many cards. I could not know everyone. Lena used to say that was the point. Give without needing to be remembered. But Melody remembered. Her voice became smaller. The card said, "You were remembered." The terminal noise seemed to pull back. Not disappear, just step aside. I knew that sentence. Lena wrote it on cards when she knew a child had moved placements, changed schools, or spent too much time being called a case instead of a child. You were remembered. I looked at Melody's face and saw, for 1 second, not an airport employee, but a little girl standing somewhere cold with a red scarf in her hands. "You kept that?" I asked. She laughed once, but it came out wet. I still have it. The worker beside her wiped at her eye and pretended she had dust there. Grant's expression shifted. Procedure did not leave his face, but humanity entered it. Melody turned to him. "He's real, Grant. This project is real." Grant nodded slowly. "I believe that. I still need to verify the handoff." "Then call Wendy Lowe." "My phone is gone," I said. Melody pulled out hers. "I'll call." I opened the binder to the contact sheet. My fingers were still shaking, but now not from shame. Melody dialed Wendy. While it rang, she looked at me again. "I don't think you know what that scarf did." I swallowed. "I only know what my wife hoped it would do. She did it." 2 words. Simple. Enough. Wendy answered on the 3rd ring, and Melody put her on speaker. "This is Melody Hart at SFO Passenger Services. I'm with Mr. Adou Minh." Wendy's voice sharpened immediately. "Is he all right?" "I am here," I said. "Adou, where is your phone?" I closed my eyes. "Peter has it." A silence. Then Wendy said, "Do not let anyone take the binder." Grant looked at Melody. Melody looked at me. The air changed again. "What do you mean?" I asked. Wendy's voice lowered. "I'm on my way. I have the trust copy. Keep the red suitcase with you, especially if Peter comes back." Melody's face hardened. Grant heard it too. "Ma'am," he said, "this is Grant Silas, Passenger Services Supervisor. Can you confirm you are the listed coordinator?" "Yes," Wendy said. "And I can confirm Mr. Minh is authorized to manage that binder and those handoff materials. His son is not." That sentence landed heavily. His son is not. My son had left me outside like a burden. Now, inside the airport, a stranger was confirming what should never have needed saying. I was still allowed to hold my own promise. Then Grant's desk phone rang. He answered, listened, and his eyes moved to me. "Yes, sir, he is here." A pause. "No, we cannot release the bags to you without verification." Another pause. Grant's jaw tightened. "I understand you are his son. That does not change our process." Melody stepped closer to the red suitcase. I knew. Even before Grant hung up, I knew. Peter. Grant placed the receiver down carefully. "Your son says you are confused, and that the bags should not be released to any volunteer until he arrives." Melody's eyes flashed. I felt the floor shift beneath me, though I was sitting still. Outside, Peter had taken my phone. Inside, he was taking my voice. I looked at the red suitcases lined beside the wall. For the first time that day, someone inside that airport did not see an old man with too many bags. She saw the child she used to be, and the promise my son had tried to leave at the curb. Peter walked into passenger services 20 minutes later, with Mason Pruitt beside him now. My son looked worried. That was the dangerous part. Not angry, not ashamed. Worried. He had put on the face a good son wears when strangers are watching. "Dad," he said, stepping toward me. "There you are." I did not stand. The red suitcase sat beside my chair, close enough that my knee touched it. Melody Hart stood on the other side of it. Grant Silas remained near the desk, holding the kind of neutral posture airport supervisors learn when family trouble enters public space. Peter looked at Melody, then at Grant, then at the suitcases. His eyes stopped on the binder in my lap. "There's been a misunderstanding," he said. I looked at him. "You drove away with my phone." I was trying to park. For 40 minutes? Traffic moved outside the glass wall. Families rushed by with coats, coffee, and children half asleep against their shoulders. The world kept traveling while my own son stood in front of me, trying to turn abandonment into logistics. Peter lowered his voice. "Dad, you get overwhelmed. I told them that." Melody's jaw tightened. I heard Lena in my head then. "Do not let another person describe your mind when you are still using it." Mason stepped forward, smooth as polished stone. "Mr. Minh, no one is accusing you of anything. We're only concerned. A 74-year-old man alone at a major airport with multiple bags of donated goods, it creates questions." "Questions you came prepared to answer for me," I said. He gave a polite smile. Preparedness is not a crime. No, but sometimes it is a costume. Peter's eyes flashed, then softened again for the room. Dad, please, let me hold the paperwork. Your hands are shaking. I looked down. They were. That made me angry. Not at age, at timing. There are moments when your body gives your enemy a sentence he can use. Melody stepped closer. Mr. Minh can decide who holds his binder. Peter turned to her. And you are? Someone who remembers what his project did. That's nice, he said, and somehow made nice sound like nothing. Grant cleared his throat. Mr. Minh, until Ms. Lowe arrives, I need to keep the bags in this area. We also need to verify the contents and route. I understand, I said. And I did. That was what hurt. Procedure was reasonable. Peter had chosen a reasonable trap. The suitcases were not flying. They were filled with wrapped items. I had no phone. The coordinator was not yet present. My son had called ahead and said I was confused. All of it looked bad if you removed love from the story. And that was exactly what Peter had done. He had taken the love out and left only the optics. Mason glanced at Peter, then looked toward the red suitcases. We should document this while everyone is here. Melody's eyes narrowed. Document what? The situation, Peter said quickly. Just in case. In case of what? I asked. He sighed. The public face cracked. In case this keeps happening. This? He pointed at the bags. This, Dad. This chaos. You dragging donations through an airport, losing track of coordination, upsetting staff, worrying everyone. I did not lose track. You lost your phone. You took it. You gave it to me. The sentence landed like a slap because it was technically true. I had handed him the phone. Trust can look like consent when a dishonest person explains it. For a moment, I could not answer. Mason took out his phone and began typing. Grant noticed. Sir, please don't record passengers or staff in this area without permission. I'm only taking notes. Melody looked at his screen. What kind of notes? Mason turned it slightly away. Private family matter. Peter gave him a warning look, but not fast enough. I saw enough. Management transfer. SFO incident. Capacity support. My throat tightened. So this was not just anger, not just embarrassment, not even just the phone. This was a scene they wanted written down. I looked at the suitcases. For the first time that day, they looked heavy in a way I could not lift. Maybe Peter was right about one thing. Maybe I had become too old for the size of the promise. Maybe Lena had left me a sentence too beautiful for one tired man to carry through airport rules, legal papers, family resentment, and December crowds. I heard my son again outside the terminal. No one cares about your charity bags. I looked at Melody, at Grant, at the workers trying to help without knowing whether help would become liability. I looked at the red tags, the sealed gift batches, the binder that suddenly felt like a court file instead of a promise. And I almost said it. Maybe we should cancel the handoff. The words rose up inside me like surrender dressed as wisdom. Melody saw it before I spoke. She crouched slightly so her eyes met mine. Mr. Minh, she said, children waited years for people like you to not give up. I closed my eyes. A red scarf, a little girl, a card that said she was remembered. Lena had not known Melody's name. I had not known it either, but the promise had found her anyway. My hands steadied around the binder. Then Melody's phone rang. She looked at the screen. Wendy Lowe? She answered and listened. Her face changed. Not fear, urgency. She put the phone slightly away from her mouth and looked at me. Mr. Minh, Wendy says, do not let Peter touch the binder. Peter stepped forward. What did she say? Melody moved between him and the suitcase. Grant straightened. Mason stopped typing. I looked at my son and saw it then. Not concern, not panic for me, but panic for the papers in my lap. I thought Peter had only left me at the airport. Then Wendy told Melody not to let him touch the binder, and I understood he had come back for something far more dangerous than my apology. Peter's eyes stayed on the binder, not on me. That was the truth I could not unsee. My son had walked back into passenger services wearing concern on his face, but concern does not stare at paperwork like a starving man staring at a locked pantry. Melody Hart stood between him and the red suitcase. Grant Silas stepped closer to the desk. Mason Pruitt slipped his phone into his coat pocket, too slowly to look innocent. Peter held out one hand. "Dad, give me the binder." I looked down at it. The cover was old, clear plastic over red paper. Lena had written the first label years ago in black marker, the Red Suitcase Project. Her handwriting had always been steadier than mine. "No," I said. Peter blinked. "Dad, don't make this harder. You already made it hard when you drove away." His jaw tightened. "I came back." "For me?" The question sat there. He did not answer fast enough. Melody saw it. So did Grant. Peter tried again, softer. "I'm trying to protect you." "Then return my phone." He looked at Mason, just a quick glance, but it was enough. Mason cleared his throat. "Mr. Minh, given the confusion today, it may be best if Peter temporarily holds the project materials until proper oversight can be arranged." "Proper oversight," I repeated. Those words sounded familiar. Different room, same hand reaching. Grant looked at Mason. "Are you his attorney?" "No, financial advisor." "For Mr. Minh?" "For the family." Grant's face changed. Airport supervisors hear many kinds of lies. That one was dressed too well. Before anyone could speak, Melody's phone rang again. She answered, listened, then nodded toward the hallway. "She's here." Wendy Lowe entered passenger services carrying a canvas tote bag and a thick blue folder against her chest. She was 64, retired from school libraries, and built like a woman who had spent decades telling children to stop running without ever raising her voice. Peter went pale. Just a little. Enough for me to understand why the thumbnail line in my life would have said the one person he feared most was waiting inside. Wendy did not greet him. She walked straight to me. "Adou, are you hurt?" "No." "Do you still have Lena's letter?" "Yes." "Do you still have the trust copy?" "In the binder." She exhaled once, then she turned to Grant. "I am Wendy Lowe, backup coordinator for the Red Suitcase Project. I have identification, route authorization, donor records, storage access documents, and a copy of the restricted fund agreement." Grant nodded. "Thank you, ma'am." Peter stepped in. "Wendy, this isn't necessary." She looked at him over her glasses. "I disagree." He forced a laugh. "My father got overwhelmed. I'm handling it." "No," Wendy said. "You are attempting to handle him." The words landed clean. Mason shifted his weight. Wendy placed the blue folder on the desk and opened it. "This project is not family cash. It is not Peter's inheritance. It is not an informal hobby he can take over because his father is older." Peter's face hardened. "No one said inheritance?" "You did," Wendy said. "In email." Silence. I looked at her. She pulled out a printed page. 3 weeks ago. "You asked me to transfer donor lists, storage codes, and a route authority to you because Adou was, quote, aging out of responsible management." Melody's eyes flashed toward Peter. Grant folded his arms. Peter said, "That was private." Wendy answered, "So was abandoning your father with no phone at Terminal 2, but here we are." Mason stepped forward. "Mrs. Lowe, Ms. Lowe," she corrected. He paused. "Ms. Lowe, nobody abandoned anyone. There was a misunderstanding during a stressful drop-off." Wendy lifted another paper. "Then maybe you can explain this." She turned it toward Grant. A screenshot, a text message from Peter to Mason. "If he loses the bags at SFO, we can prove he can't manage the fund anymore." For a moment, I could not breathe. Not because I was surprised, because part of me had still been waiting for a better explanation. Fathers do that. Even after the proof has put its hand on the table, we keep hoping it came to the wrong house. Peter stared at the page. "Mason," he said quietly. Mason did not answer. Wendy's voice stayed steady. That message was forwarded to me by mistake with a batch of documents Peter sent about storage access. Peter closed his eyes. I looked at my son and felt something inside me stop arguing. There are pains that arrive like storms. There are others that arrive like paperwork. This one had signatures, dates, forwarded emails, screenshots. Grant turned to Peter. "Sir, did you take Mr. Min's phone?" Peter said, "He gave it to me." Grant's voice did not change. "That is not what I asked." Peter swallowed. "Yes. Did you leave him at curbside without it?" "I was parking." Melody said, "For 40 minutes." Peter looked at her. "You don't know my family." Melody stepped closer. "No, but I know what it feels like when someone says a child no one remembers should stay forgotten." That stopped him. Wendy opened the blue folder wider. The Red Suitcase Project has a restricted donor account. The storage unit is tied to the project trust. Adou Minh is primary steward. I am backup coordinator. If he cannot serve, the next step is the advisory board, not Peter. Peter snapped, "He is my father." "And that gives you moral responsibility," Wendy said, "not legal authority." I had never loved a librarian more in my life. She continued, "Lena Min's insurance allocation was restricted for children's winter gifts and community distribution. Her letter is referenced in the trust notes. Peter has no authority to divert, freeze, manage, borrow against, or reclassify this project as family funds." Peter's face turned red. "You people act like I'm stealing," I finally spoke. "You left me without a phone so strangers would think I was confused." He turned to me. "Dad, you called the airport before you came back. I was worried. You brought Mason. I needed help. You asked for the binder because you were shaking." I looked down at my hands. They were steady now. "No, I was shaking because my son had turned my wife's promise into a case file." The words hurt him. Good. Some truths should hurt the person who made them necessary. Grant's desk phone rang again. He answered, listened briefly, then looked at Wendy. "Shelter vans are asking for handoff confirmation. We have 2 coordinators at the curbside holding area." Wendy nodded. "Rita Snow and April Dunn. They are authorized." Peter turned sharply. "You called them here?" "They were already coming," Wendy said, "because 1,000 children were already waiting before you decided your father needed to fail." Mason muttered, "This is getting out of hand." Grant looked at him. "No, sir. It appears to be getting documented." That was when Peter truly understood the room had shifted. Not emotionally, structurally. The airport staff no longer saw an old man with too many bags. They saw a project with documents, a son with contradictions, a financial advisor with outstanding, a coordinator with authority, a witness who remembered, and a binder Peter should never have tried to touch. Wendy slid the blue folder beside my red binder. "Adou, Cyrus Finch is available by phone. He said if Peter attempts to remove records, block the handoff, or claim emergency control, he will file notice today." Peter stared at me. "Dad, you'd let a lawyer threaten your own son?" I looked at him for a long time. I let my own son take my phone and leave me outside an airport. Maybe I have been too careful with the wrong person. He flinched. I did not feel proud. I felt old, but not weak. Melody placed one hand gently on the red suitcase. "Mr. Min, the children are still waiting." That sentence brought me back. Not to Peter, not to Mason, to the promise. I opened the binder and touched Lena's letter through the plastic sleeve. No child should think Christmas forgot them. Then I looked at Peter. "You did not come back for me," I said. "You came back for the paper that proved you could not own my promise." Peter had told everyone he came back to rescue his father. But the binder in my red suitcase proved the only thing he wanted to rescue was his plan. Grant Silas did not raise his voice. He did something more useful. He made a plan. "Ms. Lowe," he said, "you and Mr. Min stay with the binder. Melody, bring the authorized coordinators in through the side entrance. I'll move the suitcases to the assistant's holding area and log them under supervised transfer." Then he looked at Peter. "You will not remove any bags, documents, or phones from this area." Peter's face tightened. "I'm his son." Grant nodded once. "And right now, that is not the same as being authorized. There are sentences a man waits his whole life to hear from someone outside his family, not because they are cruel, because they are clear." Melody returned with Rita Snow and April Dunn a few minutes later. Rita was a shelter program director, short, steady, with a winter coat buttoned crooked because she had clearly left in a hurry. April was younger, carrying a clipboard and 3 sealed envelopes with route codes. They did not come in like people rescuing a confused old man. They came in like people arriving for work. Rita saw me and exhaled. "Mr. Minh, I'm sorry," I said. "I delayed you." She shook her head. "No, you got delayed." That difference mattered. April opened her folder and checked the tags on the red suitcases against her route sheet. San Francisco Shelter Batch, Oakland Foster Network Batch, San Jose Clinic Priority Cards, Emergency Housing Extras. She looked at Grant. "These match our distribution codes." Wendy placed her trust copy beside the binder. "These are the donor restrictions and project authority documents. Adou is the primary steward. I am backup coordinator. Rita and April are authorized receiving partners." Grant reviewed the top page. He was not a lawyer. He did not pretend to be one. But he knew enough to understand the difference between a family argument and a documented handoff. Peter stepped forward. "This is ridiculous. You're all making my father look like some kind of hero because he gave out socks." Melody turned slowly. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "I was one of those children." The room quieted. Even travelers passing near the desk seemed to slow down. Melody reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out her phone. She opened a photo and turned it toward me, a red scarf, folded carefully in a small box. Beside it was an old card, yellowed at the edges. "You were remembered." I could not speak. That handwriting was Lena's, not mine. Lena's. Melody said, "I was 9. I had moved homes twice that year. I didn't need a scarf as much as I needed that sentence." Peter looked away. Melody did not let him. "You called these charity bags. You said no one cares. I cared." Rita's face softened. April wiped one eye quickly and pretended to adjust her clipboard. Mason Pruitt cleared his throat. "This is emotional, but it doesn't address management concerns." Wendy looked at him. "It addresses motive. Documentation addresses management." Grant stepped to his desk and began typing. "For the incident record," he said, "Mr. Minh arrived with supervised charitable handoff materials. Son retained his phone and left curbside. Son later called alleging confusion and requested restriction of bags. Authorized coordinator and receiving partners verified project." Peter's face changed. "You're writing this down?" "Yes. That could be misunderstood." Grant looked at him. "Then be grateful I'm being precise." For the first time that day, Peter had nothing polished to say. I looked at my son and remembered him as a boy, holding a Christmas cookie Lena had made, asking if the extra tray was for us. She had said, "Some is for us, some is for someone who needs a door to open." He had heard that too. Maybe he had been waiting his whole life to ask why other doors opened so often. Maybe I should have seen that wound sooner. But pain does not give a person the right to steal a promise. Rita stepped closer to Peter. "Those children are not taking from your family," she said. "Your father is keeping a promise your mother helped make." Peter laughed bitterly. "You don't know my mother." I looked at him. "No, but she knows what your mother protected." He turned to me then. Finally, not to the binder, not to the bags, to me. "Dad, I needed help." The words came out smaller than all the others. For one breath, I almost answered, as I always had. "How much? What happened? Why didn't you tell me?" But then I remembered the curbside, my phone in his hand, the text to Mason, the word incapacity, the way he had called my promise evidence. So I said, "You needed help. You chose control. That hurt him. It should have. Grant handed me a desk phone. "Mr. Minh, you may call your attorney if you want a legal note attached to the incident." I dialed Cyrus Finch from memory. Old men forget many things. We do not forget the numbers we had to learn after trust became unsafe. Cyrus answered on the second ring. "Adou, I am at SFO. I know. Wendy called." Of course she had. I almost smiled. Cyrus spoke calmly while Grant listened. He confirmed that Peter had no authority over the fund, the storage unit, the donor list, the route, the red suitcase binder, or the restricted account. He confirmed that the house was already under review for updated trust protection. He also said, very clearly, that any attempt to use the airport incident as proof of incapacity would be challenged with the call logs, the text, and the witness statements. Peter's face lost color one layer at a time. Mason checked his watch. "Mason," I said. He looked up. "You are not part of my family. You are not part of my wife's promise. Do not contact me again." His mouth opened. I looked at Grant. Grant looked at him too. Mason closed it. Good. Some men understand boundaries only when a uniform is nearby. Then the work began. Not the argument, the work. Grant arranged airport carts. Melody walked beside the first red suitcase. Rita and April checked the tags. Wendy kept the binder open on a small counter, one hand resting near Lena's letter. Volunteers arrived at the side entrance, bundled in coats, carrying clipboards and insulated coffee. One of them, Bennett Shaw, came in slightly out of breath. He saw the suitcases and said, "Well, Adou, next year we are teaching Santa to travel lighter." I laughed. I did not expect to, but I did. The sound felt strange in my chest, like a window opening in a room that had been closed too long. Peter stood near the wall, empty-handed. No phone that was his to use against me. No binder. No red suitcase. No authority. Only the face of a man watching strangers protect what he had tried to take. Before the first cart rolled out, I placed my hand on the oldest red suitcase, the one that had belonged to my mother, the one Lena had filled with car and hope, the one Peter had called embarrassing. I looked at my son. "You left me at the airport because you thought I was carrying junk," I said. "I was carrying promises." He whispered, "Dad, no." The word was not loud. It did not need to be. The children you called strangers remembered my name better than my own son remembered my dignity. Nobody moved. Then Melody took the handle of the cart. "Ready, Mr. Minh?" I nodded. "Yes." That day, Peter did not lose an argument at the airport. He lost access to every door he thought my love would keep open. We delivered every gift. Not perfectly, not on schedule, not without tears, extra paperwork, tired volunteers, and one airport cart with a wheel that kept pulling left, like it had strong political opinions. But every child on that list was remembered. That mattered more than being on time. A few weeks later, the Red Suitcase Project changed for good. Cyrus Finch updated the documents. Wendy Lowe became the official coordinator. Rita Snow and April Dunn joined the advisory board. The donor account was protected under stricter rules. The storage unit codes were changed. The route list was encrypted. My house in Daly City was placed under a revised trust so Peter could no longer call equity a family emergency. My son was removed from everything. Emergency contact, storage access, donor records, project authority, financial oversight, all of it. Cold? Maybe. Necessary? Absolutely. Love does not require you to leave the door unlocked for someone who already tried to walk in with papers behind his back. Peter called me twice before New Year's. I did not answer the first time. The second time, I let Cyrus sit beside me while I listened. Peter sounded smaller. He said he was sorry. I believed he was sorry the room had turned against him. I was not yet sure he was sorry for what he had done to me. That is an important difference. So I gave him conditions. He would write an apology to Wendy, Melody, Rita, April, and every volunteer he had tried to undermine. He would give up any claim over the project, the storage unit, the donor list, the fund, or my home. He would attend family mediation, and if he wanted to come near the Red Suitcase Project again, he would spend one full Christmas season as a volunteer. No camera, no title, no speeches, no touching the binder. Just carrying boxes, checking labels, and handing gifts to people who could give him nothing back. He was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, "And after that?" I looked at the red suitcase by the wall, the old one, my mother's. Lena's letter was inside it. "After that," I said, "we will see whether you came to serve, or came to be forgiven." I did not say it to punish him. I said it because forgiveness without change is just another unlocked door. That winter, we placed the oldest red suitcase in a small display case at the community center. Not as a museum piece, not as a trophy, as a reminder. Beside it, Wendy placed a copy of Lena's sentence. No child should think Christmas forgot them. A few days later, Melody sent me a picture. It was the red scarf she had kept since she was 9, folded beside the old card Lena wrote by hand. "You were remembered." I sat at my kitchen table for a long time after seeing that picture. Then I cried. Not loudly. Old men learn to cry quietly, as if even grief should not take up too much room. But I cried because I finally understood something. The gifts were never only about children. They were about all of us who once needed proof that the world had not passed us by. My son left me at the airport because he thought the red suitcases were something I was dragging behind me. He was wrong. They were carrying the part of me he could not take. Thank you for watching and sharing this time with me today. Please tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is there right now. If this story moved you even a little, please consider subscribing to Final Act Revenge. Another story is waiting for you on your screen right now. YouTube believes you may enjoy it. So, take care of yourself, drink some water if it is late, and enjoy the next one.